Hi, ladies. I'm coming back to you, Cheryl Nelson from Sarah's Daughters, and I just want to continue on just my daily encouragement, I would say. And yesterday I was just talking about He's a God of purpose. You've got purpose, and one of the passages that I shared yesterday, as I'm talking about Sarah, and just trying to bring a bit of what I have gleaned over the years as I have walked with the Lord and with others. One of the things that has been important to me, and as I'm looking back over my life, I've always had older women in my life. Some very close, some maybe afar, but I was always as the first girl in a family of seven. I had two older brothers. Then I had a brother that was 4 years younger than me, and after that I had all sisters, and so I was like the first girl. And so my mom was a very, over the years I'm looking back, I shared everything with mom. My mom, we had a very good relationship. And my dad, not so much, because the type of job he did initially, he wasn't at home a lot, like during the week. So we'd see him on weekends. And then later on, we wouldn't see him at all because mom and dad separated. However, I'm not brushing over that because those formative years are important. But I accepted the Lord very early in life at age 10, and it became very important to me. Like at age 12, I can remember more the 12 defining moment at age 12, but I did remember making a commitment to the Lord at 10. And as I shared that passage yesterday about, God knowing us, my bones were not hidden from you when I was made in secret, when I was formed in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw me when I was formless. All my days were written in your book and planned before a single one of them began. So even as the Lord said to me after getting married, that I has to look at Sarah, I'm like, what do you have to say to me, Daddy? But she has been, I'm a lifelong learner. And so I seek to hear what he's saying when he's speaking. And I seek to spend time with him every day. Even when I don't get the length of time that I need, I do still get time with him. And so, as we're looking at Sarah, I developed a book. I think it had to be in about between 1999 2000. I started just writing things down, and I'd share things with my husband, and then he said you need to put that in a booklet. So it really was formulated. That's is a booklet, 6 chapters, Daughters of Sarah, I called it. But later on, as I was looking through the internet, I saw there was a group by the name of Daughters of Sarah. I know that he spoke to me, so I turned it around and I said Sarah's Daughters of Faith, hence the name. So you get a little background. But what I wanted to say, even here, God knows you before you were born. God knew Sarah. He spoke a word about Sarah, even as he was talking to Abraham. Come and leave. Remember, I said yesterday in Genesis 11, I think it's a way down in the passage where it speaks about her being, she was barren. She was his wife, and that she couldn't conceive. But if you read in Genesis 12, you see where it's talking about her in relation to Abraham. Abraham couldn't have descendants without a wife. So the fact that God was speaking to Abraham prophetically, giving him a promise, he was talking to Sarah. And that's why I said women walking together by faith with God's grace, no matter what. We need each other, women, and we need to locate ourselves in the relationships that we find ourselves. If you're married, then God is talking to you in the context of that relationship too. If you're single, he speaks to you there with your brothers and sisters, with your, in your family. But God speaks to you where you are. He knows you, just like it says in Psalm 139 here. He knew Sarah. And one of the things about Sarah was, I kind of picked out in the booklet I did, like I looked at characteristics of Sarah and how, as women of faith, we experience these things, good, bad, different, but their characteristics. One of the things is that she was a dutiful wife. And in chapter 12, verse 5, I think she was Genesis 12, verse 5, and basically just performing the duties that a wife would perform. Being obedient, walking obedient, yes, in the relationship that she's called to walk in, being the person she's supposed to be in that relationship. She was a beloved wife. She was a person who was loved. I really believe that Abraham loved her. So a beloved wife. And later on, as God is talking about, he said to Abraham that he would have descendants. He was going to bless him and he would be a blessing. So he's receiving blessing and he would be a blessing. He said he would have descendants like the sand on the seashore, like the stars in the heaven. So if he's going to have descendants, here comes a wife. She became a approved, a favored mother, a venerated mother. She was regarded with deep respect, even as she traveled with him, with the many families that came out with him, and then all of the cattle and the stuff that he had when he left Ur of the Chaldeans. She was a respected woman. And chapter 12 verse 11 says that she was a fair woman to look upon in the King James Version, because when Abram became a bit fearful and he went down into Egypt, when everything was, he didn't have food, there was a famine in the land, God's called him to walk by faith, and he's not seeing food for the cattle. He decided to take a detour, and in going there we find out that in his fear, you're beautiful to look at, Sarah. Women of God, we are beautiful. God has created us beautiful, and if we do not see ourselves the way God sees us, then we will have problems in being who he's called us to be. He says something about you, and we've got to find that out. So even before I close, one of the things that I want to say, as I was just thinking today, in Matthew, I think it is in Matthew, where it says, Matthew 4 verse 19 says, Jesus was calling his first disciples, right? And he says, follow me, he told them, and I will make you fish for people. And immediately they left their nets and followed him. When we become born again, I want to encourage you, my mothers, my sisters, and my daughters. He's calling us to himself. He's calling us to a relationship with him. So follow me. Follow me and I will make you. Follow me and you will see why I created you. Follow me, and as you follow me and you're being obedient to me, you will experience the joy of being the workmanship that you have been created to be. So we need to be who God says we are by faith, and that is being in a relationship with him. So here we see Sarah. I'm using that because I have really milked it. I bring in her characteristics because then he brought that to me when I became a wife. He said, Cheryl, take a look at Sarah. And as I said earlier, Isaiah 51 verse 2, when it says, look to Abraham and look to Sarah that bore you. And so that drew me. And as I was looking, he took me back to the very beginning, and I started to study Sarah. Be encouraged today, women of God. Be encouraged today and know that that which He has said about you before you were even created and formed in your mother's womb, when you come into a relationship with Him, it's not hidden at all. It's all there. And as you get to know Him, yes, follow Him. As Matthew 4, verse 19 says, as Jesus was calling the disciples to Himself, God is calling us to Him. And as we go to Him, then as we follow Him, He will make us, we will know who we are to become and to be on purpose with what He's created us to be. Bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, subscribe, share, and like.